Hello, this is the Pawn Sacrifice channel, and this is episode 9 of the 924S build. And this week I'm going to be making some engine mounts. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll understand that my welding skills or fabrication skills are probably best described as being a bit special. So this could be interesting in terms of making these. At the very least, I'm going to have the design sorted and what I want to build, even if I need to then go back and resort that. So it should be interesting. If you're new to the channel, then there's a link up top to the playlist, which has got all of the videos in there. Before I can get started on the engine mounts, the first thing I need to do is address a bit of a problem. So we'll have a look at that now. Okay, it's quite apparent, but there's the issue. The steering rack, where it's bolted into place on the cross member, is snagging against there. This wouldn't be an issue on a left-hand drive car. It's just the UK ones where it's a pain. So I need to grind that off. I believe that point was for the turbo. So the turbo would have been, I don't know, I guess mounted about there or something. That was a brace, I think, which went up to that. So that's something I'm going to have to deal with separately. But for now, I need to get that ground off before I can get everything bolted into place. Hopefully it's all going to work, or otherwise I may cry. So now it's time to get the factory engine mounts out. I did think about using these, but just with the position of them and what they were going to, I didn't think it was a good idea, although now I'm questioning that logic. So the bolts underneath are done. Just because where they are with the wishbones, they're a pain to do with those in place because you can only get a spanner in there. But actually this one's come out very easily. They just pull forward and then slot out. You are if you've not done them before, you're actually able to do this with the engine in the car on the factory if you ever need to replace them. So let's try this one. Okay, and there we go. So the plan initially is to get the first part of the engine mounts built, which bolts to here, and then they've obviously got a bushing, and then I need to work out how I'm going to mount that onto the engine. Okay, problem sorted. Now in a position to actually start doing the work. Let's have a look. As I mentioned, it's going to be coming off with the original mounting points, although it's going to be done differently. So essentially there is going to be a rectangle section which is going to come up from there, and then it's going to have the bushing, and that will then form the bottom section. Having bought the wrong ones, these, I now need to get on with fitting the sleeve, which is that. It's ever so slightly too big, so what I'm going to do is just actually shave this down a bit using this unsophisticated upside down sander, and hopefully that will take enough off so that I can get these fitted in properly. So my little tool for getting this shaved down seems to have worked a treat. So a bit of lateral thinking in the absence of the correct tools for the job, and that fits, and that one fits as well. Bolt now fits nicely through it, and yeah, very pleased to have got that sorted. Wish I'd got the right parts to start with, but a little bit of lateral thinking and away we go. So those are actually pretty good now. As you can see, they're a bit proud, so I'm just going to mark those up and cut that off, and then on to the next stage. Well, it's not often you get to whack things with a hammer, but this is probably the best way that I've got of actually testing to see if these welds have held up at all. I just want to get an idea of if it's going to be on the right track in terms of strength, and this seemed to be the best way of going about it. Well, that's slightly mixed feelings about that. In all honesty, I'm slightly upset at having done a model figurine type thing. But in all instances, I know I haven't just been at it for hours and this isn't proper testing, but it's good to see that the metal itself, bearing in mind this is 5 millimeter steel, that's folding rather than anything breaking. And I'm convinced that's going to be more than up to the job of what I need it for. And also the plate hitting on there is trying to, because of where the shape is, that should be pushing down there, so trying to create stress along there. And even the little weld here has held up okay, so I'm reasonably happy with that, as long as I'm not going to be bashing obviously the mounts that I make around like that, but that's given me a good idea of where I am in terms of welding. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. This is so disheartening, it's unbelievable. Oh, I just... Given all the practicing and everything else that I've done, I'm really not very happy at all at the moment. That's worse than any of the ones that I got to when I did all those little difficult bits, just try and get practice for this. And if I'm sounding a bit upset, then this sort of thing is just so frustrating when you try stuff and it's going right and you think you're getting there, and then when it comes down to the bits that you've been preparing all day, and I'm sure everyone else has been through the same thing, and that's how when you go and watch people on the internet and watch them welding and they know what they're doing, it's because they've done this 1,000 times, and I've done it probably 20 so far. Well, actually probably more than that, but yeah, so I'm going to reposition everything and have another go. I still think so. The second lot of the second side actually went on quite nicely, but I just didn't get it down into the corner, and I don't know what it is, but I think I'm still having that problem with getting the aim right and getting things. Anyway, enough of me whining. I'll get everything repositioned, take it in place, and then have another go. It's just, I've done it again. I don't honestly know what's happening here compared to the sort of things that I was doing here, even where it was a bit more difficult. I was doing it in phases and it was going on okay, and around there, Right, there was no filming of it, but I've just basically made a little template up there, and what I've done is I've pushed through the centre, and I'm going to put a hole punch in where I've marked out the centre on the steel. So there, and then basically line that up, draw the outline. I'm actually going to cut a much larger shape around it, get the piece welded in, and then I'll basically shape everything back to it once that's done, which is probably what I should have done last time, which would have made it a lot neater. You'll probably also notice that this is looking a lot shinier than the material around it. I just want to make this as clean as possible to get that done. So yeah, first of all, hole punch, draw the shape, and then get the abrasive disc going again, and yeah, hopefully make some decent progress today. So there's my holes drilled, and I'm not going to actually cut this shape down anymore until these bits are welded into place. But just thinking about it, I think what I'm going to do is cut these down now so that they'll take the bushings before I then go and weld them on. If you're wondering at all there on that little montage about the dance of the drill bits, well, what I have found now with drilling steel is that it's for no rhyme or reason. I'm sure somebody's got some logic as to why, but it just seems that drill bits or step drills seem to work for a certain amount of time and then just give up. And for my own sanity, I find just swapping out, doing something else with another bit actually is quicker, but also just saves a massive amount of frustration on my part. Just standing there constantly drilling with something that's not working. So that's why. So next of all is back on the cutting disc and just basically getting these cut down to size. Okay. It's the bit that I've been dreading and also just wanting to get through, and that's the welding, and I'm just praying that it goes better than last time. Everything's now ready. All of the holes and everything are drilled and everything's in its place, and I'm going to cut around this afterwards when I know exactly what I've got, where everything is, and yeah, I just want to get it sorted. So here goes. I have to confess, I'm pleasantly surprised with what's happened with the welding. It's a lot better than it was coming out the other day, so really pleased with that. And all in all, I don't think it's the worst job in the world, certainly not the best, and going to be factory standard. I'm definitely going to have to keep an eye on these when they're in the car, but yeah, it's nice to see the heat penetrating through there on both the bottom and the sides, so I believe that's a good sign. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not perfect, it's not great, but compared to what happened the other day, I would imagine I've left some of that footage in to just show you how bad it was and why I've started again. So I now deserve some lunch, I think, while these cool down a bit, and then I can have a look at the next stage, which is I want to just put a little bit of bracing on there to help support the weight, just a bit of extra security. partly making up for the welding skills. But yeah, food time, and I'll be back shortly. So the final bit to do with these is just to make this locating tab, which will then be welded to the bottom, and just position that just so. There's one on either side, and so what I'm going to do is just measure that out, cut something up. I'll probably use this, and then get that welded in. So roughly speaking, it's 15 by 20, maybe 15 by 15 will do it. There you go, that's sort of worked in terms of locating. There's still a bit of play there, but yeah, it's going to sort of roughly hold it in position, which is good. And I'll just check, make sure that fits and works on the other side, and if it does, I'll just repeat the exercise. Right, bottom half is now complete of this setup. The one thing which I did do, which I didn't film, was just basically cut this metal sleeve here to go on the bushing that will then accommodate the bars that run up to the points that I'm going to put on the engine. So yes, that's done well. I'm pleased with this time around. I'm disappointed that I've had to go through and do it twice, but I think that's one thing you're possibly going to have to put up with if you're following this series, is when I'm not happy with something and then going back and starting again. I'm just a bit pleased. I'm sure it's going to be a lot stronger than the original one was. Talking of which, I did mention that I was going to look at adding some bracing, but now that these are bolted in, and particularly now that they're shorter than the first lot that I made up, I don't think that's going to be an issue. They just feel so solid in there. That the main point is going to be how well the welds hold up, and is something that I'm going to keep an eye on. Not bolted down, but the lower motor mounts are in place and ready for phase 2. So that's the lower engine mounts built, second time of trying. Hope you got some learnings from the first attempt, although it was mostly just welding problems. So next time, and actually what I'm going to carry on with now, is building the supports for the engine. That's my phase 2. Yeah, pleased with the end results, just a bit frustrated it took me so long to get there. I'm splitting this into 2 just because I wanted to get this out, and hopefully the second video won't be too much further behind unless I hit any more snags. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.